Happy New Year, American Patriots. David Varner here, American Patriot. Just wanted to post a quick little video about the upcoming event in Washington, D.C., as well as the other events that will be happening around the nation and other state capitals, like in South Carolina, Columbia. There's going to be a lot of people gathering there that cannot go to D.C. Anyway, just wanted to give some people some information that they may find helpful. One is a website. It's Clout Hub. Okay, and you can see on the computer here, well, you probably can't see it real well, I'll push the link, but look up Clout Hub and go Patriot. There's a bunch of different groups. This one is Patriot Caravans for 45. Patriot Caravans for 45 on Clout Hub. And it is a fantastic resource. There's all kinds of people there. There's metro maps. You can book your hotels there. There's ride sharing options available there. People, if you can sign up for the group. You can pick up a ride, or you can offer a ride or a hotel room, or whatever the case may be. It's a great resource. Anyway, I would highly encourage using that if you're going, especially last minute. It could, or if you have people fall through on your trip or whatever. Need to make some adjustments, it could be a good resource to use. Heads up to people, some hotels are closing. They've been threatened to be burned to the ground if they remain open for us Trump supporters. So that is pretty screwed up all in itself. Do what you want to about that, but I would have a contingency plan. If you go, I would go take plenty of food and maybe a camel pack or something, and some water. Maybe even some food and water to give away. If you can, restaurants and bars are also shutting down. They've been under the same threats, and the mayor there is talking about limiting or shutting down the metro. I guess she's a evil, wicked Democrat, just wants to make it as hard and painful as possible for regular Americans to come show support on that exciting historic day. So anyway, what I wanted to talk, one of the main things I want to talk about is ordinances for Washington, D.C. So if you have a lot of people are wanting to take all kinds of gear to protect themselves. Here we are, this is the first day of 2021. 2020 was full of BLM and Antifa riots all across the country where, and we have seen lots of video of patriots being attacked by these people, assaulted, even murdered in the streets. So, you know, beware of your surroundings. Beware too, one of the gatherings that happened, some of them tried to infiltrate, and they were like wearing Trump gear, Trump hats, but they had their hats turned around backwards. And they acted like they were safely escorting some people at night back to their rooms, and then they turned and attacked them. So be aware, you know, look people in the eye and see if you really trust them. You know, talk to them. Maybe engage in conversation, especially before you go trusting them, and just be aware of your surroundings. There are ordinances and laws in D.C. A lot of them definitely I would consider infringe upon our rights to defend ourselves and carry. In D.C., even if you have a concealed carry permit in D.C., you're not supposed to be able to, and I don't think this is legal, but they want you to have a D.C. permit. And of course, I'm sure that probably takes forever. It's probably very expensive, and they're probably not giving them out very much right now. But anyway, that is their law and their rule. But again, oh, by the way, here goes my disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. Do your own research, make your own decisions, weigh all your options, and just be accountable for yourself. I'm just trying to share information that I have found to try to make it easy on people, so you don't have to spend, everybody doesn't have to duplicate efforts and do their same research. But ultimately, you are responsible if you're going. So anyway, as far as ordinances go, an ordinance is not supposed to be in conflict with state law, especially like in South Carolina. D.C. is not a state, so I don't even fully understand what the legal entity of the District of Columbia really is. So you know, there's a Pandora's box there of legal issues. And I'll talk about Colombia in just a minute, but it also should not be in conflict with our constitutional laws and rights. With that said, you know, I would be discreet if you're going to, you know, whatever you choose to take there or not take there. I'm going to run down a quick list of some things that people have talked about that I think is good. Steel-toed boots. You know, if you have to defend yourself, you can do a lot of damage to somebody with some steel-toed boots. Hopefully you won't have to, but tactical gloves, they make tactical gloves where that has special knuckle compartments, or even any good gloves, even a pair of just winter gloves. If you have to defend yourself and you hit someone, you know, having your hands wrapped with something can help you do minimal damage to yourself and more damage to your assailant, your attacker. Pepper spray. In most states, I'm pretty sure it's pretty legal everywhere, although there are restrictions on it, on strength and whatnot. In DC, though, they have an ordinance that says you're supposed to come in and get a permit to carry pepper spray. Give me a freaking break. Anyway, just so you know that. So if you're carrying it, I don't know that I'd be carrying it out in the open, and I'd only use it if you need to defend yourself. And if you did, you know, there's some good magic words to always use if anything ever happens and police respond as I was in fear for my life. Of course, it needs to be the truth, but a good idea is to have some legal protection, prepaid legal services through someone like U.S. and Texas Law Shield or UCCA. They offer protection for people who want to prepay for legal services in the event that they ever have to defend themselves or their family, and then they're forced with some kind of phony charges like the McCloskeys in St. Louis are facing. They're actually lawyers, but I'm sure they're probably engaging in lawyers that specialize in it. And those lawyers for those two companies I just mentioned, they specialize in our Second Amendment rights. So they are well versed in it, and I would sign up with them. I mean, I think if there's ever a day and time where you need such, I would do it. I had it for a long time, and then when we moved, where we live in a nice, safe neighborhood for the most part, and I had actually canceled my membership for a while, but then when all this craziness broke out last year, and all these wicked people were out here burning houses to the ground and threatening to come into the suburbs and do the same, I decided, you know what, I'm going to sign back up. I want to be protected. I don't ever need that kind of drama in my life, and if I do, I want to have a lawyer on my side to fight for me. So anyway, but yeah, in DC, a lot of things are not going to be legal. So, you know, take your precautions. But I would also do this, and I would just want to suggest that in the event that anything happens, let's say there's an incident, you have to defend yourself, or some kind of great big melee brawl breaks out that you find yourself in the middle of, and you're, you know, forced to protect yourself. The DC police are not your friend, okay? Know this, it is a Democratic mayor who hates American patriots, hates Trump, despises him, despises us. So there's going to be well over 1 million people there, and I would say that if anything happened, and again, you got to evaluate the severity of the incident and your particular circumstances, but I'd probably just go filter into the crowd of that 1 million people or something and disappear. You know, normally you'd think if anything happens, you call the police and do a report and prosecute the proper people, but I don't know if I would count on that in this day and time, especially in Washington, D.C. And I have seen the police basically, it looks like they're basically bodyguards for Antifa and BLM, so know that too. If anything happens, I would not be surprised if they don't prosecute you to the fullest extent and then send them on their way to continue their destruction. So I know they have arrested BLM and Antifa people there, but what I've witnessed on video is horrendous. And to me, the majority of that police department needs to be arrested themselves and prosecuted. To me, they are treasonous. They are the other side. They are not American patriots. So anyway, and also I would dress. I don't know what the weather's going to be there, but if it's going to be warm, I would dress in layers of different colors and plan on possibly making some changes of clothing. You know, if something happens, or in this day and age of video everywhere, you know, I'd be real tempted if I were going. I would go with my beard. I would take my clippers, and if I needed to whack it off, it would be gone. If I needed to change hats, I'd change hats or change color shirts or pants or whatever. And my location, backpacks or whatever, I would have a plan, is I guess what I'm saying. Be prepared to protect yourself, okay? Because you don't need to get sucked into some vortex of left-wing Democrat people trying to extract their vengeance on us patriots for coming out and supporting our president on this day. So anyway, just be smart, be shrewd, and let's talk about the spiritual aspect of this. Go in the spirit, be prayed up, pray over the city. When you get there to that, you know, what should be sacred ground in our country, pray over it. Declare, you know, do spiritual warfare. Have the full armor of God on when you go. And, you know, witness to those people. Hopefully, some souls can be won, and some of those, the wickedest people can have a Damascus Road experience and get salvation. There's going to be a lot of praying people there, so expect God to do great things. Don't just expect to go. You know, there's been a lot of conflict when patriots have gone in the recent past, and don't go just expecting conflict and looking for a fight. Just, you know, go and, you know, have your spiritual eyes open, be ready to pray for people, and hopefully some people get born again, turn from their wicked ways, and come into the light. That would be a great thing, and it can happen, and I'm expecting that to happen. I'm going to change quickly now to Colombia. So there are ordinances in Colombia that are vague at best, but I would say also completely against our Constitution. When you read through it, the one word that pops out, there's this long list of things that are not allowed. And basically, like a knife of any kind, not even an inch long. They don't even want anyone to have a pocket knife or a gun or brass knuckles. Or, you know, it's ridiculous. So, with that said, though, an ordinance is not supposed to be in conflict with state law or more stringent than state law. Ordinances are really supposed to be more about civic issues like zoning, but we know that these Democratic mayors and city councils get out of control, and they think that they can just basically, they want to rule all us little peasants as they look at us. So anyway, but the ordinance does state, it lists all these weapons, and it calls them an offensive weapon, okay? But here's the thing, the same object could be considered offensive or defensive. You know, let's take a pocket knife, for example. You take a pocket knife because maybe you cut rope with it every now and then, or you clean your fingernails, or you whittle, or whatever, but you also, it's not a bad self-defense item. You know, if you take that and you had to pull it out and defend yourself, that would be, in my mind, a defensive weapon. Now, if you took that knife and you went out looking for a brawl in a fight, and you just go out looking to stab someone, I would consider it an offensive weapon at that point. I mean, to me, the offensive or defensive is in the intent of the user. You know, same with a gun. And so we don't have to check our constitutional rights when we drive across the city limits of Colombia. And one thing I did call U.S. and Texas Law Shield, and I was asking them about these ordinances because they just seem to be crazy. And he informed me that the state attorney general in South Carolina is suing the city of Columbia over those ordinances because they are in conflict with state law, and they are in conflict with the U.S. Constitution. So anyway, just know that some things may just have to get hashed out in court. And by the way, the only one that can overturn an ordinance is a judge. Or I guess the other way would be if a city council and mayor went through all of the steps to undo an ordinance that they've passed. They could amend that. That can happen, but I wouldn't hold your breath for them to do anything of that nature that looks out for you and me. So just because there's an ordinance doesn't mean it's legal. You know, and a lot of these same things with, you know, I don't even want to get into the mask thing right now, but you're gonna have to deal with that one later. But anyway, just so you know, and also it's not just Columbia, Charleston and Greenville also have some strict ordinances on weapons, on knives and things like that. So anyway, but again, I think a lot of those could be challenged. So anyway, my advice would just be to, go and support the president, do it peacefully. But if it turns into a situation where you have to defend yourself, perhaps you weigh out that it's worth, I guess you got to weigh out for yourself. What do you think the risks are? What do you think is worth carrying or taking with you to any of these events to protect yourself? So anyway, I mean, some easy things that are totally legal are the steel-toed boots or gloves. Tactical gloves are great. And by the way, a couple of good sources. Somebody pointed out Walmart has these boots that are pretty inexpensive, hard toe, steel toe. The only difference is hard toe is plastic, so it's going to be lighter than the steel toe, and also it does not conduct cold as much. So I don't know what the weather's going to be like in DC, but if you're wearing steel-toed boots, they tend to be colder than hard-toe boots that have plastic in them. And Red Wing shoes, that's what I was trying to think of. Red Wing shoes have a great selection of all kinds of safety shoes and boots. They have like tennis shoe style shoes that have a hard toe as well. So you could have something that might be a little more comfortable and a little bit lighter than a great big boot. I guess there's advantages and disadvantages to both. If you have to actually use your feet to defend yourself, faster and lighter versus bigger, heavier, and harder. There's a physics lesson there that I'm not going to get into, but either one can be quite effective. So anyway, just wanted to put that information out there about the ordinances and make some suggestions for being prepared, taking food and water, that kind of thing. Watch your back. Don't trust the police there. And, be safe and pray. This is in God's hands anyway. Happy New Year. Peace out. Everybody stay safe and pray for this election event when the electors are going to come to D.C. on the 6th. And God knows what kind of drama we're going to see. But anyway, be praying for our leaders that this all turns out well.